Hello and welcome. This is Rajiv Nalavadi on the YouTube channel Life's Magical Journeys. So today I will be talking about some passion of driving, and essentially when it comes to supercars, Italy is very famous for them. So I'll be talking a little bit about Lamborghini and how I bought my Lamborghini and what steps did I go through, and also cover one Italian author. So let's get started. So the passion with cars, essentially, my dad was an automobile engineer, and our home in India had a carpet. So worked on entire car engines, like sort of disassembling and putting them together. So cylinders and pistons and axles and underlying armpits of the car. Or anything that we parked on the carpet, we could just step down, go through and see what was happening in the chassis. Sometimes it's not so wonderful to see the underneath because you have driven in a lot of places. But we used to clean it and then observe some of the cars that were above the carpet. So here is where I think I learned about one of the life lessons, and I could correlate it later on in my life, though. So I observed like how the cylinders and the pistons could operate outside of the car. We used to remove it and then put a different car engine, for example, in an ambassador car like this. This was India, where these cars used to be widely available and for cheap, and you could get like a Mercedes Benz kind of car engine which has gone over 200,000 miles and kind of sent to scrap, but the engine is preserved, so you could replace that engine into like one of the Indian cars. So I've done that, and essentially this allowed me to work also on the Vauxhall 14.6 antique cars. We have two cars which are still there. I still own them back in India, and they're from the 1940s, England cars, and essentially there is 100+ year old ancestral property that we own, and they are sitting in the garage there, the Vauxhall cars. So the passion with driving started when I started driving around the age of 14 in India. And in India, there is no license concept and this was the 1980s, early 1980s. So loud, long driving the long distance of 300 to 350 kilometers. So for people from India and relating back to the 1980s, you can see like how 300 kilometers would look like. It took a long time, but I loved driving that long distance. The roads were not in good shape like the ones we see today. The roads today are really awesome. So it was not that great back in 1980s. So I loved even the nighttime driving. It was fun, and had done literally tens of thousands of kilometers by the age of 22 when I moved to the United States here. So unlike today, I used to love driving in the night because people were very polite. They would bounce between the high and the low beam whenever they would come in front of you from the opposite side of the road. But nowadays they have these fog lights which are right in your face, and it's very hard for me to drive at night nowadays. Like so, and I would never do that in India. Although I do drive like my SUV, Renault SUV, whenever I'm in India, but I don't like driving in India at night anymore. So a Lamborghini. So who doesn't love these amazing supercars? The rare, you have like basically it's an aquarium for car lovers, right? You can see the engine from the back, which is very transparent, very slick machines. So our garage in India that I talked about had a poster of a Lamborghini. While growing up, I used to look at this picture in the garage and had the dream to own a Lamborghini since childhood. So I finally bought a Lamborghini Gallardo, and I have owned it for about 8 years now, as of 2024. So how did it come about? I have a passion with Valentino Balboni, and this is basically besides Ferruccio Lamborghini, this is another name that stands out when the history of Lamborghini gets written, and he's closely associated with the Lamborghini Gallardo. He was a test driver, and he started working in at Lamborghini in 1968. After completing his mechanic school, he began working as a mechanic apprentice, and he was helping mechanics and learning the tricks of the trade. And personally, for me, Valentino is a legend. Of course, Ferruccio Lamborghini is also a legend, but personally, for me, Valentino Balboni is a legend, and because he's a test driver, and that's him with the Lambo. And basically, he was a test driver for Gallardos. And this is my Lambo with an interior of yellow and the exterior of yellow as well. So I love yellow, and I was on the lookout for the yellow color and especially a yellow interior as well. So that's why it's my favorite Lambo. Somebody else may have a different taste. They may like black Lambos or the lemon green Lambos. Those are very popular. So, but mine is yellow. And this is me, like the handsome and the beauty. The handsome is me on the left hand side with my Lambo just in front of my home on the road. And the beauty is my wife. I've been married to her for 28 years. And although she doesn't like driving the Lamborghini, she always allows me to drive. And I'm happy with that, that I would drive her around anywhere in my Lamborghini. So the purchase story of the Lamborghini itself. I bought my Lambo at Newport Beach in Southern California at a dealership. So it just came about I was looking for an interior of yellow and an exterior of yellow as well. And it just happened on a Sunday evening. I spotted this yellow Lambo with the interior of yellow put on sale, and it was at a Newport dealership in Southern California, and exactly what I was looking for all these years. I messaged the dealership on Sunday evening, and promptly the salesperson messaged me back saying that the Lambo was still available, and immediately I told the salesperson that I was going to come down tomorrow, Monday, which was a regular working day for me. And I sent a quick mail to my manager at that time saying I will be taking off tomorrow. So next thing was support of the partner. So I anxiously approached my wife after I had already told the dealership that I would be coming over. So after a quick 15-minute discussion, she did not she did not give me a tough time as to why I need a Lambo and so on. Like, she knew my passion about driving, and especially a Lambo as soon as she looked at the picture. So we decided to fly from Sacramento to Southern California, on Monday. So and kind of it's the rest of the story, like about the booking of the flight tickets. I had to do it on the Sunday night, and the dealership asked me to send like my driver's license and the proof of funds, about 30% the total selling price of the Lambo, and all of this was done. And well, I wouldn't be telling the story if it didn't have more elements to it, right? So let's continue. So my arrival, taking the Uber, the flights, and another Uber after landing, we ended up at the dealership, and they told me the beauty was taking a shower before it would be brought in front of me. So I waited in the in the lobby of the dealership, and after like maybe 15-20 minutes, I heard a rumbling sound, and I knew that was the Lambo essentially rolling in front of the porch of the dealership, and such a wonderful sound to hear. So, and I did the test drive and was ready to commit and purchase. So now came the steps for the payment, right? So they told me they had seen my proof of 30% in cash funds, and asked me how I would pay for the rest of the payment, or what was the plan. Just for curiosity's sake, right? I asked the salesperson about the different options. They do offer 10 to 11% interest rate. This was way back in 2016. I think the interest rates were very low. Like this was the low interest rate season, right? Like when the usual car loans were going in for 5%, somewhere around 5%. Very low interest season, right? Like around that time. But if you want to buy a supercar, usually it will cost 5 to 6% higher than the regular car loans. And I was just asking for curiosity's sake. So let's continue. The payment I had to do in full, right? So I requested the car salesperson to drive me to Chase Premier Client branch. And when you have the dream of purchasing something like a supercar, there should be an integral plan that you have. So I had my plan, and there was cash sitting in my account, something in the order of $300,000. And essentially, when you go and tell the bank that I want majority of this fund, like just sitting in cash for a long time, I want to withdraw it and withdraw it from a branch which is not your home branch office. So the bank doesn't trust you. So they took a lot of time to verify things and call my local bank office here in El Dorado Hills. And finally, the demand draft was ready, and the bank confirmed and provided me the demand draft, which I handed over to the salesperson. So now my entire cash reserves were depleted, but I was happy. But it's not the end of the story just with the payment, right? So we'll continue. So the car insurance, I own a BMW and Audi as my other cars. So I've been with Progressive since 1994, so that makes it roughly about 30 years. So trying to add a Lambo to the policy is not an easy 1 or 2 hour thing. So you have provided the payment, and now they want to see your insurance policy and that the Lambo is covered before they let you roll out of the dealership. So essentially, I was calling up Progressive and I tried to add online. And of course, Progressive said they need more time to review. They would they wouldn't provide me with the policy at that time. So I was denied immediate issuance or a Lambo edition into my policy. So I asked the dealership to get me an insurance from one of their agents, and they do have a lot of them available around there. I took the cheapest one, which was about 750 a month. So there were other policies they were offering around in the dealership, like which ranged from 750 all the way to 1200 a month in terms of covering a Lambo. And this is true for any supercar, be it a Ferrari or any other supercar for that matter. So still not the end of the story. So now the time was around 7 p.m. We had arrived at the dealership around 1 o'clock and test driven and done all the things and finally got the insurance. It was 7 p.m. in Newport Beach. So the dealership guys were thinking I will stay here in Newport Beach. So they booked me a nice oceanside dinner at an Italian restaurant, and also booked me a stay in Newport Beach, which were all complimentary. The dealership was surprised when I told them, like, I would need to drive back today to El Dorado Hills. So they were surprised. You don't want to have your dinner. You don't want to stay here in Newport Beach. This is a wonderful area. Why not? So, as I told you, it was my working day, and I told my manager that I would need 1 day of vacation. So I had to drive back today. So starts the drive back, essentially from SoCal to EDH. So halfway, somewhere between SoCal and El Dorado Hills, Coalinga. That's like the spot I recall. I took the exit to fill up gas, and as soon as I arrived into the gas station lot, the gas station owners were holding a baseball bat in their hands and trying to scare off some rowdy group that had already parked there, and they were littering around their gas station lot. So these guys were ready to fight them. So I immediately rolled back onto the road to the exit and then went and filled the gas at the next available exit or a few exits more. My heart was pounding. What would happen to my Lambo? And I had to get out of there. So finally reached home around 2:30 a.m. in the morning, and A little bit about the drive itself, right? So, uh, coming on I-5, I was doing 80 miles an hour, so not planning to speed and get a ticket in my brand new car, right? So I was doing 80 miles an hour. So when you're coming on I-5, people are doing 90, 95, right? And I used to see them come fast in my rearview mirror, and suddenly they would slow by your side, trying to record a Lambo on the road, right? So those are some interesting things, and it still happens. People start to drive next to me on the road, and they try to do a video on their smartphone. Especially the kids are very interested in doing that. And uh, yeah, I think the drive of a Lambo is amazing. And for the name of the Lambos, Gallardo itself came from one of the five Spanish bull breed casts, right? Like so does all the other names. They are named after a bull or a bull breed. Like, for example, Aventador, it was a famous bull that fought in 1993. And Huracan, which is like the model trending around this time, it was named for a famous bull that fought in 1879. So all of these names have been named after a bull. Miura, for example, as well, Spanish fighting bull. So today, the author we'll be covering is Italo Calvino, an Italian author. So, since we are talking about Italy, we went through Lamborghini, the supercar in Santa Agata Bolognese. That's where the factory is. So, Italo Calvino is the author I want to cover today. So he was born in 1923 in Cuba, Santiago de Las Vegas in Cuba, to Italian parents. But immediately after his birth, the parents moved back to Italy. So his early years were spent in Italy. So he was growing amidst the lush Italian landscapes. And during the turmoils of World War II, he joined the Italian resistance. And he also wrote his first book as part of the Italian resistance, like how a youth kind of viewed this kind of resistance through a youth's eyes, right? It's titled The Path to the Nest of Spiders. So these were all resistance people, and it was his thought he put out there. The lens of an envoy. So Italo Calvino is resting today in Siena, Italy. So if anybody visits Tuscany, they can see and look up where Italo Calvino is buried, and it's his resting place there in Siena. So later on, his works were all of fantasy and a lot of folktales, Italian folktales. So I'll bring a lot of these books. I'm not going to cover all of his books and his folktales. Today I'm covering like two books, and essentially I'll do another video where I cover some of his other works as a novelist. So his novel, one of them is called Invisible Cities. This is the first one I read of Calvino. It's a mixture of fantasy, fable, and history. So it traces the conversation between Marco Polo, the explorer, and the great Kublai Khan. And the conversation is about a place. Marco Polo is narrating or telling the story to Kublai Khan, and he invents a magical city. And he talks about this different cities, and the cities are named like Isadora, Dorothea, and so on, so on. So essentially, uh, Marco Polo, although is describing only one city for that matter, but different parts of that same city. And essentially, you have to go and read which city is Marco Polo talking about in Italy. So it would be very easy to guess, but I would like you to go and read. I'm not going to give out the entire stuff as to what Marco Polo is describing in this particular novel. So he's just giving different names for and describing portions of the city to the great Kublai Khan. And Kublai Khan also knows that Marco Polo is sort of making up these city names. And they are not real, but he still engages with him because this was the period when the Khan was being challenged, and he knew his end was near. So that's the time it is capturing. So it essentially covers human nature, society, and the search for meaning. Right. Essentially, that's what this novel was about for me. The next of the Calvino novels is the complete Cosmic Comics. So Cosmic Comics, it kind of blends the scientific concepts with which are very whimsical stories, and it traverses the boundaries of reality and imagination. A lot of Calvino novels are imaginative. He imagines, like for example, two ships that want to fire at each other, but the wind is not blowing, so they are stuck as a stalemate. That's one of his novels, and I'm not covering that here though. And this one, the complete Cosmic Comics, it's about the cosmos, and QFWFQ is present at all the moments of the history of this cosmic formation, and he explores the universe's evolution, and he's the one narrating essentially. Uh, so basically, it is the structures of the cosmos and what we as humans do for storytelling. And it talks about the distance to the moon, the stars, and the galaxies, and so on. So QFWSQ is an interesting character. It's an ageless character that is present in this Cosmic Comics novel. So there are other Italo Calvino novels. If on a winter's night, a traveler, this is like where you go through the chapter and it seems like the beginning. Every chapter is a beginning, but in the end, everything comes together. And there is some ending, and I'll cover this novel and the others listed here as part of a separate video. And Mr. Palomar, that's an interesting novel where Palomar is trying to find something out in nature, like looking at a bird or looking at a landscape. He tries to figure, it's about wanting to know more about the world, then expanding our knowledge beyond what we already know and trying to understand what we don't know. That's Mr. Palomar. And the other one listed here is the Six Memos for the Next Millennium. So these were essays which Calvino was supposed to deliver at Harvard, which were later published by his wife. He couldn't deliver the lecture, and essentially it is about the six memos. What do the authors need to keep in mind when they write for the next millennium? So that's the thought which Calvino has put together. It's an interesting read. So that's it for today's video. Subscribe to Life's Magical Journeys, where I try to bring you at least one author from every country of the world, or covering all the 197 countries from March till April of 2025. So do go and subscribe to all the other socials, the YouTube channel which you're watching this on, and Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I do post different material on each one of these socials. On Instagram, I post my travel reels, and on Facebook, it's the short stories from my novels, and LinkedIn also has the short stories from my novels. So do subscribe, and let me know how you like this video, or anything that you want me to cover, your favorite author that I haven't covered. So maybe I'll take some time and read and then cover. So that's it for today. Bye. See you next time.